Ready? You think you can tell us what to do? You think you can tell us what to wear? You think that you're better? Well, you better get ready. Bow to the masters. Bring it down!
Suck it! Yo, 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 it's the Juiced Up Show. I'm your host, Jake Juiced Up Accardo. That was the good old days of WWE, the early 2000s, D-Generation X. That was the good old days, man. That brings back a lot of memories watching Raw is War on Mondays and, just having to watching the females on there. It made you lay on your belly sometimes in the bedroom. But hey, that's a story for another day. So, episode 9 of the Juiced Up Show. We made it this far. We're still chugging along. We're still going with it. Last week, we had a great episode. This week, we're going to be doing NFL recap week 2. We'll go over how we did with our 3-team parlay. We almost hit. We were that close. We were that close. So we did a lot better this week. We're going to go, I got a pop culture show I want to talk about. My wife's been watching. I want to hear some opinions from y'all in the comments. We're going to recap the Crawford-Canelo fight that had about 41 million views. It was a great fight in my opinion. We'll update the MLB playoff race. And then at the end of the show, it's the Juiced Up takes. So here we go, episode 9. Let's get it started. The Juiced Up Show is basically TMZ meets ESPN. We do pop culture. We do anything sports related, anything that's worth talking about. We just don't do politics. We don't do religion. And that's at the end of the day, that's just the best way. Make sure you guys hit subscribe, hit the like button, follow us on Twitter X at the Juiced Up Show, and just keep following along and pass the word along about our show if you like it. So NFL Week 2 recap. We had a good Week 2. We had some injuries that are going to be pretty significant to some teams. We had Joe Burrow go down with a turf toe injury. I think it was like a grade 3, one of the higher grades that you can get for a turf toe. So that's going to require surgery. He's going to be out for 3 months. He has been out in the past, and Jake Browning has took over and did pretty well. So the road's totally not over for them, but they are in a tough conference in the AFC. They all serve their divisions, the AFC North. You got the Ravens. You got the Browns aren't that great, but then you also got the Steelers, who are pretty good. They're 1-1 right now. So it is a tougher division, and it's a tough conference being in the AFC. So we'll see how things work out. Other teams do get injuries. These things happen in the NFL. You just hate for it to happen to your team on Week 2, unfortunately, and also your star quarterback. So that's too bad. Chiefs took an L on the Super Bowl rematch. They got the Eagles at home. They lost 20-17. The game was pretty just another day in the park. It wasn't that great of a game, not high scoring. It was more defensive ended this time compared to the Super Bowl, how the Chiefs got mollywopped. So that's just kind of interesting seeing them at 0-2, and now they're at the bottom of the AFC West. You're not going to just totally write them off just because it is the Chiefs. They have proven themselves, so you have to give them that kind of credit. But it's just so far the season is not looking too good for them. They got the Giants, I believe, coming up, so that should be hopefully a bounce back game. The Giants did play well against Dallas. They were in it till the end. They did give up that the game tying field goal, then the game winning field goal in overtime. So they got a little ahead of themselves, thinking they were going to win in those last seconds there when Russ completed that pass to Neighbors, and unfortunately, they weren't able to finish out the game, but they did play well. They didn't play so bad in Week 1. It was Week 1, but compared to Week 1 to Week 2, the Giants look pretty good. So they can give KC a run for their money, so it's not an open and shut case on that one. We also had the Bears getting blown out by the Lions. The Lions definitely bounced back after that Packers loss, hanging up a 52 pace on him, boy. Hung up 52 points on him. Caleb Williams started off the game pretty rough. He started off the game pretty well. I watched the replay of it, and then they kind of just died out in typical Caleb Williams fashion. He starts off hot, and then he kind of just falls off. So that's our NFL Week 2 recap. Our Week 3 team parlay. Thank God I only bet $10 on these 3-team parlays because um, if I would have had to bet more, your boy might have been on suicide watch. So we had what do we have here? We had Seattle, Pittsburgh on the over hit. We hit the what was the other game we hit? We hit that game. We hit the Lions covering 6, obviously, and then it came down to the Panthers and the Cardinals. The Cardinals. Kyler Murray, you fuck you. So it's basically we had Arizona covering 6.5. Cardinals take a 27-9 lead into the fourth quarter, 18 points. Feeling pretty good. If they could just control the game, there's only a few more possessions left. But the Cardinals, they did what the Cardinals do a lot of times. They laid a turd. They gave up about 13 points. So we had the Panthers ended up getting the backdoor cover on the fourth quarter. They were looking good the whole game up until that point. And like I said, if I had bet more than $10, yeah, your boy might have been on suicide watch, or there would have been some homicides in Southeast Portland. That's for sure. So I'm glad I didn't bet more, but I felt good. The bets went well. I also added on an extra bet. To that, I did a four teamer with all the over unders. Missed the under on the Eagles game, so 3 for 4 on that one, 2 for 3 on the 3-teamer. So hey, we did some good progress. We're right there. We went 0 for 3 on week 1, so we did 2 for 3 this week, and we got backdoored. So it wasn't completely our fault. We did make a right pick, as it's the Cardinals let us down. So to the Cardinals, thank you. So yeah, did pretty good, and then we'll just keep an eye out later in the week. I'll be putting out a video for my week 3 3-team parlay. We'll put that out later in the week when it gets a little bit closer to Sunday. I just want to make sure I get the injury updates now that we're getting in later to the season. Just kind of see who's playing, who's not playing, who's banged up, and then whatnot. And then okay, we're gonna switch it over. If that was NFL Week 2 recap, we also did our 3-team parlay recap. Now we're gonna go over to our Crawford Canelo fight. I was texting my boy Tim, of course, all night, and he was not enjoying the fight. He thought Crawford was a professional sprinter. He said he kept running around the ring. I thought it was a good fight. Crawford I assumed what he was going to do. He was going to pick his spots. He was going to hit his spots. Although his punches weren't powerful, it was doing enough to knock Canelo off of his game plan and frustrate him. And so at certain points in the fight, you could see the frustration in Canelo's face. The first 3 rounds were kind of like a filling out process, like I thought they would be. But once that subsided, Crawford just kind of, he found his spot. He was comfortable. He took some shots from Canelo. It didn't look like he got fazed by any of those punches, and he could just pretty much pick and choose where he wanted to go in that fight. I think one thing that hurt Canelo is the fact that he doesn't jab. So when you don't jab, you're not really able to, set a tone with the fight or have a fighter kind of thinking more on his feet, because the jab sometimes sets up sets up other punches and other combos. So the fact that he doesn't jab, and Crawford being the savvy fighter that he is and the intelligent fighter that he is, he was able to counter easier off of some of Canelo's punches, because he's just coming with straight rights, right hooks, basically just power punches, because if any other punch than a jab is basically considered a power punch. So the fact that Canelo wasn't jabbing, I definitely think that affects that style that he fights wasn't good against Crawford's style, just because he wasn't able to set up a lot of stuff. And a lot of Canelo's fights is able to overpower some of these guys and use his power and his muscle to kind of, put his will on other fighters. So I thought it was a good fight. No word of a part 2 just yet. Both fighters were very, admirable in defeat, admirable in loss. They both handled both of it well. Crawford ended up giving Canelo his belts back, because all the belts are customized. So he's like, hey, I have no reason to hold on to this guy's customized belt. So he ended up giving them back to him. Classy move. They weren't bad-mouthing each other after the fight. It was a class act. So hopefully we see a part 2. They did pretty well on Netflix. They got 41 million views. So I think there could be a part 2. If not, hopefully maybe Bud goes one more. He's 42-0 right now. So, he might want to retire and just, sail off on a high note. He got a unanimous champion in another weight class. So overall, I thought it was a great fight. I wasn't disappointed. It was free, thank God. I mean, Netflix, I pay like $8 a month. But yeah, it was free. So thank God. I didn't have to bootleg it or nothing. And I thought it was a great fight, Crawford versus Canelo. So hopefully we see these guys in the future down the road in some big fights, maybe a rematch. All right, next up, we're going to switch it over to some pop culture stuff. So I got 2 daughters and a wife. So I live with all women, lots of estrogen in my household. So typically my wife's watching, Love Island, Love is Blind, all those type of lovey shows. And the new one she's on right now, it's on Prime. It's called The Summer I Turned Pretty. Okay. So the reason I'm bringing up this show, I'm going to explain it, but I have to explain to you kind of the premise of the show really quick. So the premise of the show, there's this daughter who's in love with two brothers, she's in love with brothers. There's an older brother and a younger brother. So she's always been in love. She's been more attracted to the older brother and more into the older brother, but he's always been emotionally unavailable. So she ends up getting more attached to the younger brother because he's emotionally available, but she didn't like that. So she ends up dating the younger brother. They're planning to get married, and she leaves. She ends up canceling the wedding and goes to Paris because she's still in love with the older brother. And during the whole time she was dating the younger brother, the older brother had a thing for her still. So this is kind of the premise of the show. Obviously, there's a lot of other stuff that happens in between. But the other night, I asked my wife, I go, so let me ask you this. And please reply in the comments. Anyone watching this video, I want to hear what your guys' opinions are on this question as well. So I go, if this was a guy and it was two sisters, would that be any different? She goes, yes, because guys are emotionally unavailable, so they would just be like perverts. And I was kind of taken aback. I'm like, well, that's kind of fucked up. Like, well, so what's this girl? She's over here begging the brothers. You know what I mean? If she's begging two brothers, what does that make her? Oh, because she's emotionally attached, it makes it different, and a guy can't be in love with two women and be torn. So I thought it was just kind of funny how she just right away she just said it wouldn't work for a man to be in love with two sisters. So I want to hear your guys' opinion in the comments. If this show was reversed, is that possible? Ask her if you have a girlfriend or a wife, ask their opinion, find out if they watch the show, and then just kind of see what their take is on the show. And it's called The Summer I Turned Pretty on Prime. And yeah, so I just had to bring that up in my pop culture segment because the show is pretty popular. It's like trending or whatever. So I just wanted to kind of hear your guys' opinions. Just write in the comments, let me know. All right, back to sports. We're going to go to our MLB playoff update. We missed that last week. Right now in the AL East, we got Toronto with a 5-game lead. In the AL West, we have Seattle up a half game over Houston. In the AL Central, we got Detroit at 6.5. Pretty much they're running that division. They should close it out soon. There's only about 12 games left in the season. In our AL wild card, we got the Yankees at the top wild card, Boston followed by Houston. And then making a late push, we have Texas and Cleveland. So now with the new baseball format, I was unaware of this because I'm not even trying to act like I'm a baseball fan. I'm just speaking it because it's a sport, and maybe some people will ever watch this actually like baseball. So who knows? So I guess they switched up their playoff format. The top 2 seeds get a bye week, and then you have 3 wild cards that make it, and then they play the other 2 division winners. So that's kind of are the other division winners. So then you have 4 teams left over. So in baseball, you only have 3 divisions. The third ranked team will play in the wild card round, and then the first 2 teams get a bye week into the divisional playoff round. So in the NL, Phillies already clinched the playoff spot. I think they're going to clinch the East. Or actually, they clinched the East. Then you got the NL West. You got the Dodgers up 2 on the Padres. NL Central, Brewers clinched a playoff berth, but I think the Cubs are still within that behind. There's still enough games back within the season to still kind of to make a push and try to get first place. So in the NL wild card, you got the Cubs at the top spot, Padres followed by the Mets. And then at the making a late push right now, we have the Diamondbacks and the Reds. So baseball is actually, this is the best. I feel like this is the best time to watch baseball. It's playoff season. Games actually matter. If they would go from like 162 games to like 90, where the games were a little more, they actually are a little more urgency than when you're in like the first like month of the season when you're in game 10 and the guys are like, who cares? Like whatever. It's 10th game out of 162. So I feel like if they shorten up their season a little bit, I like the fact that they sped up the clock now on the pitchers. Not so many substitutions. You can't be doing these like big shifts. So they're trying to make subtle changes to where they still keep your core like diehard like purist baseball fans, but they're also trying to get in, the newer fans, and also the fact that people don't have the attention span to sit around for 4 hours and watch a 9 inning baseball game, or even want to at that fact. So they are making those subtle changes, and I like it. And hopefully this playoff push, like maybe this playoff with this new format, it'll give them some more viewers. Obviously, it's more money, more rounds of the playoffs. So that first round is basically winner. It's just loser go home type game, and then you advance to the divisional round. So that's our MLB playoff update. And next up at the end of the show, it's the juiced up takes. Suck it. Yeah, so this week we got two good juiced up takes. One article I found on 2fab.com. That's two with two O's. FABOUS. So yeah, this is about they kind of did an article about a Nick Cannon interview that he recently did on the Breakfast Club, and they kind of talk about, they ask him about having 12 kids now that he's approaching the age of 45, and he just kind of broke it down to let's see here. So he admitted that this rapid journey into fatherhood was at least in part a response to unhealed trauma following his split from Mariah Carey. So he's basically saying, he has some issues going on that he never really touched on or got proper help for. And this is kind of what led him to fathering 12 kids. So this is from Nick Cannon himself. I'm learning that now, Cannon 44 shared. It wasn't like I was acting out. It was more being careless, being frivolous with my process because I could do it, because I had the money, because I had the access to whoever and however I wanted to move. So basically saying I had money, I had power. If I want to impregnate somebody, it'll be their payday and I'll take care of the kid, whatever. Like I'll deal with the consequences later type of thing. And we all go through different stuff. And then in this article, they named all the kids, all the baby mamas and the kids he has with them. So with he has twins Moroccan and Monroe with Mariah Carey. He has Golden, Powerful, and Rise, interesting names, with Brittany Bell. He has twins Zion and Zillion, and daughter Beautiful, with Abby De La Rosa. Yeah, he got some Latin love in it. Got that little mixes. Got the Latinas. Yeah, man, you doing it, man. Got that Latina mix, man. And then so he has Legendary with Bree TSC. So he only liked that chick for one kid. So if he only gave you one kid, he wasn't feeling you, girl. You only got one kid out of Nick. He wasn't feeling you. He wasn't feeling you. Even Mariah gave him two, and she was older than him. Come on, boo boo. You should have got more out of him. You failed, girl. You failed. So we got that one. Then we got Onyx with Lanisha Cole. He didn't like her that much neither because he only had one kid with her. Maybe she was too black for him because Lanisha sounds like a super ghetto name. So maybe that's what it was. Let's see here. Lanisha, and then he has daughter Halo with Alyssa Scott, as well as his late son. He did have a son that passed away, so I'm not even gonna. That's unfortunate. I would hate to ever have that feeling in my life. So, rest in peace to his little son that passed away at 5 months. That's too bad. He explained that fathering so many kids wasn't part of a grand plan. It was more about like, yo, I'm just going to live life, have fun, whatever happens, happens. I can handle it, he said. But being almost 45 now, he kind of sits back and he just realizes that might not have been the best way to go about things because of what he was going through. He should have addressed it. But when asked if he would still have 12 kids had he done that inner work, he replied, I don't know. I've always said this. Every child that I had was made out of love and there were strong relationships. So, he's not regret. He doesn't have any regrets. He's just, you can't tell what the past what would have happened in the past if I did something different or what's going to happen in the future. So, it's an honest answer. And he says, I probably would have took my time in a lot of other scenarios, Cannon admitted. And for whatever reason, I thought it was the answer of a lot of times, like, oh, I'm going to figure it out over here. So that was just an interesting story, because everyone used to kind of, it was like definitely a topic of like years of like, oh, Nick Cannon's got another kid. It was almost like, it just became like a joke and a meme. So that's kind of cool. He's like actually now finally addressing it like in a mature way and explaining it like as an adult, and that he's really like realized it, and he's kind of owning up to like it was very like selfish of him to do this, and but he doesn't regret it. So that's good for him. All right, last juice up take. This is a good one. I read this one on TMZ. The scuba diver. in Florida, he swam up to a Disney Springs restaurant called the Paddlefish. It's like on a like those rowboats or whatever, steamboat thing. It's like this park's dock. So he swam up to it in a scuba gear, robbed two employees without a weapon of 2 to 20,000. They were doing the final count for the night. Then he popped his scuba gear back on and then swam and swam off. My boy Scuba Steve over here swam off with Aquaman and Little Mermaid with 10 to 20,000 in his pocket. I mean, I don't know what he kept it in to keep it waterproof. Like, I don't know if he was just stuff in the swimsuit. Like, I don't know what the plan was, but or like did he just have like a knapsack? But this was like some heist like you see on Goodfellas, the Gienza heist or whatever that shit was called at the airport, the Lufthansa heist. But I just thought that was a funny story. Dude just swam up in some scuba gear, robbed two people supposedly without a weapon, took 10 to 20,000, and just swam off into the night like Swamp Thing. So that was a pretty interesting story. Scuba, check that out on TMZ. Scuba diver robs Disney restaurant. So that was pretty awesome. And that is our juiced up takes. Thanks for watching the show. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit like. Please pass it along if you like the content. I love to hear feedback, anything to improve the show, anything that I can make better. I love to hear it. So, any type of feedback anybody wants to send, please do it. Reply in the comments, interact. I love to interact with some people watching the show. Next week, we'll go over NFL, obviously. There's some good college football games coming up, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some pop culture stuff going on. And then anything else that kind of happens during the week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like I said, hit subscribe, hit like, and the juice has been squeezed. Thank you.